Imagine running your pub for years, being a beloved landlord, helping your community, and then, one evening, you are brutally attacked outside your own front door. That's exactly what happened to Matthew Bryant at the Heron Hounds pub in Maidstone. Here's what people don't realize. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was premeditated. This was revenge. And tragically, it cost Matthew his life. As one viewer commented, "Threatened to kill someone, killed him, then pleaded self-defense." That sentiment captures the shock and disbelief of so many who followed this story. Matthew Bryant wasn't just any landlord. He had a lifetime of experience in hospitality, and he and his wife Caroline had run the Heron Hounds pub for 8 years. He was respected, fair, hard-working, and genuinely cared about his community. The Heron Hounds pub, however, has a dark history. Back in September 1975, the IRA planted a bomb outside the pub. A young sapper, David Campbell, noticed the device and raised the alarm, saving dozens of lives. And in August 2022, another tragedy occurred when Andrew Loosley, a dad of 5, was killed outside the pub after being struck by a single punch from 18-year-old Josh Gibbs. Here's what people don't realize. Matthew had already faced tragedy and violence outside his pub, and yet he continued to provide a safe, welcoming environment for his community. Stephanie Langley was Matthew's former sister-in-law. They hadn't seen each other in over 20 years, but she carried a deep, simmering grudge. Stephanie had a criminal past. In 1996, she was sent to prison for smuggling drugs into the UK. She was released in 2001, started a new life, and settled in Maidstone. But old grudges die hard. She claimed that Matthew had assaulted a friend of hers decades earlier. There's no record of this ever happening. Yet for Stephanie, the memory became her excuse for rage. This case shows a bigger pattern. Unresolved grudges and obsessive thinking can turn decades of time into a deadly vendetta. On that fateful evening, Stephanie's son Cameron had been playing pool at Matthew's pub. Stephanie arrived at the pub around 5:53 p.m. CCTV captured her being served a drink by Matthew. But what happened next changed everything. Stephanie began acting aggressively, tried to knock Matthew's phone from his hand, and threatened him repeatedly. Caroline, Matthew's wife, immediately recognized the danger and told Stephanie to leave, while Matthew called the police. Here's where things get wrong. Matthew was calm, polite, and cooperative, yet Stephanie's rage escalated. She left briefly, then returned armed with a knife. Matthew was on the phone with the police trying to stay safe when she attacked him. As one viewer observed, she preyed on Matthew's decency and magnanimity. Nothing she says will make a difference. She's already proven she is the evil one. Wretched scum. Stephanie stabbed Matthew multiple times, one wound penetrating his heart and liver. Despite the desperate efforts of bystanders and paramedics, Matthew Bryant died at the scene. He was just 52. The reaction online was intense. Comments poured in. Premeditated murder. This woman should never see freedom again. R.I.P. Matthew, you didn't deserve this. A nice man taken too soon. Life should mean life, never to be released. Ever. Here's what people don't realize. The public outrage isn't just about anger. It's about the sense that justice sometimes doesn't fully protect victims or prevent future tragedies. During the trial, Stephanie admitted stabbing Matthew and possessing a bladed article, but claimed self-defense. She argued she had been threatened. The jury, however, didn't believe her claims. Evidence showed premeditation. She had deliberately returned to the pub with the largest knife from her kitchen and had worn clothing to conceal it. Even her clothing, a thick, padded ghillie worn over a dress on a warm summer day, suggested planning. As one viewer said, "How does someone get revenge for something that never happened?" The jury found Stephanie guilty of murder. She was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 24 years. By the time she could be released, she would be almost 80. The judge made it clear this was callous revenge. She had harbored this anger for more than 20 years, and she had attempted to justify her actions with lies and distorted memories. Matthew's widow, Caroline, spoke with heartbreak. "I remember shaking him, saying, 'Wake up, wake up, we're going to Paris tomorrow.' He never did wake up. That horrible evening, Matt was taken from me. Part of me went with him. My heart feels so empty." Matthew's mother, Valerie, described her grief. "I've lost not only my loving son, but also the only man in my life. She not only murdered my son, but she's also stabbed me through my heart." Here's what people don't realize. This is more than just a headline. It's a devastating loss that ripples through family, friends, and the community. This tragic case highlights several critical lessons. 1. Never underestimate threats, even from someone who seems familiar. 2. Long-held grudges can turn deadly. 3. Premeditation can be subtle, but lethal. 4. Public outrage often points to systemic concerns, like perceived leniency in sentencing. As one viewer commented, "Anyone who threatens your life, stay away and never turn your back. It's a cruel and increasingly vicious world." Many comments focused on sentencing. 24 years for premeditated murder. How is that right? This is why we should return the death penalty. Life should mean life, never to be released. Ever. Here's where things get wrong. The legal system may not always satisfy the public sense of justice, especially in cases that shock communities. Matthew Bryant was a man loved by many. He was generous, fair, and kind. The tragedy that unfolded at the Heron Hounds pub reminds us of the unpredictable nature of violence, the dangers of unresolved grudges, and the importance of vigilance in everyday life. Our hearts go out to Caroline, Valerie, and all of Matthew's family and friends. As one viewer put it, R.I.P. Matthew, a good man. And it's true. Matthew Bryant will be remembered for his life, his kindness, and the love he gave to his community. Here's what people don't realize. Stories like this aren't just about murder. They're about the patterns that allow violence to happen, the warning signs we often overlook, and the real human cost that follows. So the next time you hear about threats or disputes that seem small or personal, you remember Matthew Bryant. Because, tragically, he is proof that sometimes the consequences are permanent. If this story moved you, comment below. Do you think justice was served? What lessons can communities take from this tragedy? And if you want more detailed true crime stories, make sure to subscribe and watch another video next.